What's going on, everybody? Your host, Ryan Landry, with the Everlasting Veteran Podcast. I'm joined in studio with Seth Sharp from Guardians of Purple Heart. Sir, welcome to the show. It has been amazing a ride. I had to just turn your mic on.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
I turned it down because, like, during the intro, like, I could hear you breathing.
Well, to be fair, I looked over and I was like, "Is the mic muted on this?" I was like, "Can I say something right now? Can I crack a joke? Can I?"
Well, yeah. All of a sudden,
I have to behave myself.
All of a sudden, I realized I couldn't hear you in my headphones, and that is the key point to podcasting. Make sure somebody has headphones on, because you could do a whole episode and you have no audio.
We've done that, and I've definitely had to sit there for 3 hours in audio editing just to get me tapping on the desk or my excessive nasal breathing. Like,
yeah, I get it. I have it too. I have it.
Like, hey, Arnold, the kid that would just lurk behind.
Yeah, I have it too. I have a deviated septum, so I get, and I got breathing problems. So I get.
At least you have excuses. I know, man. I'm just weird.
Oh, damn! I wanted to connect on some level.
We can connect on a level, but it's not going to be that one. I don't know. I'm a heavy breather, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. Welcome to the show. I appreciate you taking your time.
Yeah,
be able to tell your story, be able to tell what you got going on. Maybe somebody be able to listen, get a little bit of insight, maybe join into a nonprofit, be able to give back, find a little purpose, create an identity, for them.
I mean, you're speaking my language, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's what this is all about. And it's not just veterans, right? Mm-hmm. We can all relate in some aspects. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe not the surface aspect. It's one of those things where you didn't walk in somebody's shoes, you're not going to understand completely. You know what I mean? So kind of dive into, like, I mean, you were in the military. Yeah. How was that? Who you were with?
Oh, man. So let's see. So first I came from a background of military. It's like 4 generations of submariners, both sides of the family. Like, my father married the chief of the boat's daughter. That kind of stuff. It was so, like, I was growing up in it. I was used to it. I was getting crew cuts, eating shit on a shingle, since I was born, pretty much. Right. So there was always that healthy respect of, like, that's how my family provided for generations. And I actually didn't want to be in the Navy when at first I was more of Coast Guard. I was a little timid because, I didn't really want to leave home. I was kind of scared of that. You're 19 years old and you've never really gone very far. And I knew, growing up in York, Maine, being down the street from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, the Coast Guard was nearby. Right? Walked into their office. They laughed at me because I didn't graduate high school. I had a GED. So, but the Navy guy was like, "Hey, man, we don't care." I was like, "All right, go with the stupid people. Let's go." They're mine. And, so I decided to join, and it was my stepdad that really pushed it, because my wife and I were going to have a baby, and he said, "I don't want you to break yourself the way I had to, just to provide, to be 50 years old and your body's just destroyed, and you can't even run around with your kids or your grandkids. Like, you don't want that." And he was in the Navy as well. As a HT, a hull tech on aircraft carriers, seen and did all kinds of stuff. Some fantastic things, some rough stuff, like with the Iranian hostage crisis. But it really pushed me to do it. And so I decided to join, and I was going to be a hull tech. And then he said, "Don't do it." Because I guess at the time they split the rate up, into DC men and hull techs. So the first thing that got passed to me was submarines. I was like, "Oh shit,"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Well, what do you think about machinist made?" That is literally what my entire family has been for generations. And I was like, "I'm not pushing turds. Like, I got to do something different." So I decided to join the submarine electronic and communications field, and then eventually slated for a radioman, and realized that was probably the best choice I ever could have made.
Nice.
It was a journey. I was a little shy of 11 years. I hit that shit or get off the pot moment, and I decided to get off the pot. Which was really hard. Well, we can go into that for sure. So I joined submarines, and it was a really, really eye-opening experience. Especially the older I get, the more I reflect upon everything I learned. And I realized that the Navy did exactly what I was told it was going to do, and it made a man out of me.
Right.
Yeah, because I joined, and man, I'm not gonna lie, like, I was a little bit of a little turd biscuit, when I hit the boat for the first time. I was like, you guys picking on me, and you're yelling at me because I'm not qualifying fast enough, but this is hard. Yeah, bullshit. No,
Yeah.
I had an awakening moment, I think, when I realized to myself that I kind of wasn't hacking it. I was ready to tap out of submarines, and I was writing a letter to my wife, being like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm ready to go surface. And so I imagined myself for a second, and if at the time my wife and like 1-year-old daughter were to follow me around as like a specter throughout the ship for just one day, just for 24 hours, would they be proud of me? My answer, without a doubt, was no. They would not have. And then I just changed right there. I just to become a better sailor, a better man, a better person, and slowly work more and more from there. And that's when the journey really started. That's when I started to learn the most, not just about my job, but about life, about leadership, about self-improvement.
Right.
Yeah. It was radical. And I got to see the world, which is extraordinarily humbling. And it makes you really appreciate what you have. More specifically for me as an American, what I have here and how great it is. I'm very patriotic.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just stem from my time in the service, but from my family as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can relate to that. I mean, we were just talking before this, like having my, grandfather's U.S. Navy cap up next to my beret.
Yeah, it's awesome.
World War II, Vietnam, Korean War, served in all of them, 23 years in the Navy. Come to find out later on down the road, he was like boots on ground, in Korea. And behind enemy lines, he was treated for malnutrition, and like they couldn't get supplies to them. We learned this like after he was already gone.
You say this after I just told my story about I was just being a pansy. It's like, wow, now definitely know I was.
Well,
that's
I mean, that generation, like
it was a different world.
I mean, we can't compare what we're going through right now to what they were going through. No. And the world and how things were and stuff like that. It's a completely different motion picture in which we're living right now.
Completely.
And we pay homage and pay respect, to where we've come from, because that was the building blocks for us.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And for me, like, my grandfather served, my dad was in the Army, my stepdad was Army, it was first Marines actually, then apparently got bored and went Army Special Forces, eventually it was Special Forces,
as one does.
You just so I mean, I was Army. I wasn't Special Forces. I'm a ninja. That's a different story. The training that took place to become a ninja is quite intense.
Yeah. Lots of throwing star practice.
Yeah, lots. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah. Cutting watermelons, karate in the garage type of thing.
Meditating under waterfalls and fighting bears and forests and shit.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yep. And how'd you know?
I put in a blue to green package at one point. I
don't But yeah, so I mean, my time in service, like obviously, like you and many other veterans, myself included, we take a lot of pride in this country and where we've come from. The push to get us here, serving our country, being an American, being a patriot, service member, a veteran, whatever. We take a lot of pride in it, because it's not easy work all the time.
No,
but the meaning behind and the purposeful driven mission at hand when you're serving, and now like we're finding it in a different light when we get out, right? Is kind of just life sending us in a different direction, doing the same thing, right? And you guys have it with Guardians of Purple Heart. I have a little bit with Everlasting Veteran and other organizations too. But you don't have to have an organization. You don't have to be a part of an organization.
No,
just be a good human being.
Yeah.
Right. And I talked to Doug about this, right? Being a good human
Doug
being.
Capazzi.
Yeah, Doug
I could have
Capazzi.
corrected you, but I loved hearing you butcher his name.
I did it.
I know it's going to frustrate the shit out of him.
Well, I did it when I introduced him on the episode that I did with him. So it's whatever. Like Capazzi,
I don't know. Italian.
Scusi, Papapoopy.
Ferrari.
Sorry, Peter, you're not Italian.
You're making your mother cry.
Yeah. It happens. It is what it is. Like, even though he told me how to pronounce it, like I started the episode and I pronounced it wrong.
Yeah, well, stop making up fake last names.
Well,
you can look mine up in the dictionary. I'm just saying.
Well, it serves him right? I made up a fake last name for him, and he thinks dinosaurs don't exist or never existed.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know. I can't fix him.
So
I love him.
So we can pronounce his name wrong all the time,
right? He also has a bachelor's degree in science and doesn't believe science is real either.
Yeah, he's a flat earther.
Yeah. So I was like, you're just going to tear up your degree then?
Yeah.
It's just, I have a bachelor's degree in blank.
Hard knocks.
Bullshit.
Life.
The school's of hard knocks.
The school's of hard knocks. Well, I mean, the thing is, back when we were younger, obviously, like, the big thing was college. That's the only way you're going to succeed in life.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily all the time.
Not always.
Right.
I think it's important to also teach that, like, you can still do good things.
Yeah.
And build things with your hands.
Right.
You can go work in the trade, because I come from a trades family. All right. Like, that's I grew up on the job site.
Right.
So it's everyone was veterans, and then drywallers, painters, carpenters, electricians. Like these are the guys that I grew up with, and they're the ones that I respected.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that education is important. I think that the college has a special role in certain aspects, and if it's just not for you, then it's just not for you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't determine your trajectory in life.
No, obviously. I mean, I'm where I am right now, and I never thought I'd honestly be there.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. But I mean, you talked about it before, of like that self-reflection of like, okay, now I need to take like extreme ownership of what I have.
Yes,
right?
There's that word.
Extreme ownership. Right?
Words.
Yeah.
We do them sometimes.
Yeah. It's more than one word.
Yeah.
Plural. S.
I don't know. You can put them together if you want.
Extreme
ownership. Just say it really fast.
Really fast. But it is true that, having extreme ownership, and I mean, Jocko Willink really hammers it home with his stuff.
Yeah.
And like I explained to Doug, and he kind of took a little offense to it. Like, I have a podcast. I haven't listened to a full episode of any podcast. I'll listen to like 5 minutes or 10 minutes here.
You couldn't even lie and say that you listen to ours.
I didn't say I didn't listen to it at all.
We don't consider it a real podcast.
No, it's just all podcasts, right? Yeah. Even my own episodes, right?
Is that a thing? Like audiobooks, not a thing for you?
It's like,
you're more of a visual guy?
I don't know. It's a combination of both. And I think right now it's a time management thing, right? Because I'm doing all the editing, I'm booking all the stuff.
Well, to be fair, all right, do you think that like a dishwasher or a mechanic, the last thing they want to do when they come home is wash dishes or fix somebody else's car?
Right.
So I mean, I get that.
Yeah. It's not that I don't want to, and I haven't. I haven't listened to a full episode end to end. That was my point. I've listened to episodes, but I haven't listened to a full one end to end.
Well, I mean, you're not missing much with us, so you should save some time.
Well, I mean, you guys are hilarious.
I'll send you the Spark Notes.
Well, I mean, some of the episodes of the back and forth, between you guys is hilarious. Is hilarious. Maybe he is a little too much concerned about proving that dinosaurs don't exist on every single episode, and that's what's staying in his mind. And he can't.
I don't know how to get him off that.
I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
You can drown it, though.
You can't. You absolutely can. You can. But I mean, when it's time to bring him out to pasture, it's time.
Well, you know what? If I needed anybody to argue like the most ridiculous point in the world and never quit, it's gonna be Doug.
Yeah.
The sheer tenacity.
just, and the audacity.
Yeah. Tenacity, audacity.
Yeah, all of that.
Audacity.
All the
we're smithing all the words.
All
today.
the dacities.
Oh, you have some serious dacity.
Yeah, you're being dassy today.
Super dassy.
I think we just created like a new thing.
You're being super dassy right now.
Being super dassy. I'm putting that on a t-shirt.
Turn that, do it. Turn it into a short. Man. That's what's up.
But yeah, I mean, I tried to explain to him that it's more of a time thing, you know, like I don't have an hour, right? So like I record for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I edit, right? And, you know, I have other stuff. I have a full-time job.
Yeah. Do you work from home, or you like have an office, or
so
like how much time are you spending in a car? Because that's where I do most of my podcast stuff.
Well, I have been policing for going on 11 years now, so I'm in a car all the time.
All right. I feel like you're supposed to be listening to more important things while you're doing that.
But I'm not listening to that. I'm listening to the radio, and I have stuff to do and go around. So I don't have the time.
Thank you for that.
In the 8 hours to like maybe put it on the radio. But other than that, like if I have a call, obviously I got to get out.
Yeah, right? 22, maybe right after this episode. No.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. You can't do that.
No. But it's one of those things. And then on my weekends, you know, or my time off, you know, I'm having business meetings and, you know, growing this, and then having episodes and editing stuff. And, you know, so it's like, it's a one-man circus. You know, the guy that's got the harmonica.
I'll give you this. Eddie Van Halen. All right, the lead guitarist for Van Halen, the guy does Eruption. All right, one of the most profound guitarists in rock and roll history. Never listened to music. He would drive his truck in silence. The man's still great at his job.
Yeah,
still does his thing.
Yeah,
nobody hates him for that. So
yeah,
you know, do your thing, man. You do you, boo boo. Don't worry.
Hey,
I got you back.
Hey, I kind of take that as a little compliment that you compared me to Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen. There you go, man. Just saying. Right, you spend all that brain capacity on the thing that's most important for you.
Yeah, I do find joy in having peace and quiet, like by myself.
Yes,
right, because I'm able to like decompress the day. I'm able to kind of get in a creative mindset. There's times that, you know, I'll sit down here, I'll sit outside when the weather's warm, and you know, or I'll strum on the guitar. Yeah, I'm not amazing by any means, so please don't ask me to play.
No,
I know a couple songs.
Play "Hey There, Delilah" for me. Stare at me in the eyes while you're doing it.
I will have to learn that. Next episode, I will play that for you.
Hey there, Seth. What's it like over 3 miles away from your house?
But I do enjoy that reflection period where it's me, myself, and I. That's my only selfish moment. You know, I have to take in, it could be 30 seconds, it could be 20 minutes, you know, but I find it very important to find that time once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, if you live in an active lifestyle like we are, where, you know, we have jobs, we have our families, we have our occupation that requires a lot of our attention. You're answering to someone else or for someone else constantly, right? All day long. And to have that reprieve of just a moment to just not do that.
Yeah.
Just be like, nah, don't ask. Like, I know I'm getting super stressed when my wife's like, would you like to go out to dinner? And I just can't answer. Like, my brain's like loading. And I'm like, all right, now I know I'm getting too busy. I need to take a break, because I don't even want to answer that question, because my brain can't figure it out. I'm like, I don't know, decide for me. I'll just come along. I don't care either way.
Yeah. And I do the same thing, even with like, you know, Everlasting Veteran, you know, in like the podcasting and the business side to it and everything else. I have to take a break from this as well. Right. Because like when I'm in season recording, right, it's like, it's a nonstop thing, you know, but taking those short breaks during the season, you know, to self-reflect on, you know, what I'm doing right now in the moment, where I've come from and where I want to go, you know, and process things and kind of set up a strategic plan moving forward each kind of step of the way, right? And on the daily, weekly, monthly time period, right, allows me to kind of reflect of like, okay, am I doing it right the way I thought I was doing.
Yeah, you got to take those moments and review upon what you were doing.
Yeah.
Right? Just make sure, like, what I do to follow the track that I wanted, and did it veer?
Right.
And if it veered, why?
Yeah.
You know, what did I do there? Being reflective is important. And I feel like the older we get in life, the more we are reflective. You know, not just overall of our life, like not some just serious midlife crisis shit.
Right.
You know, because that hits hard. But you know, just kind of thinking about, you know, okay, like for me, I got 35 years behind me. You know, as far, it's not a whole lot to some people, that's a lot to me. You know, 35 years, I did a lot of shit.
Right.
You know, well, let's reflect upon it.
Right.
And how can I use that for going forward, you know, into the future, especially if you want to leave a lasting legacy. You know, that's super important for me. Legacy is one of the most important things in my life.
Well, and it's one of those comparisons, and I've talked about this before, is like success, right? A lot of people, one, they chase the dollar, right? But success can be measured not just in a monetary amount, right? And I value the success aspect of growth, of knowledge, of growing as a human, right? And being a better human, being the best version of yourself for you first, and then whoever else you can around you, right? Because if, you know, and I learned this myself, and this is why I talk about it. And that's why I try to be as genuine as possible, especially on here in every aspect in what I do, because I want to try to, you know, put out what I've learned, right? And if you are in the mindset, and there's some people that do great work, right? But I have talked to some people, and I've been in that position as well at one point or another. You get so focused on helping others that you don't end up helping yourself, right?
Guilty for that one.
And we all are in some aspects, right? And that's where it's important to be able to take that time, right, and have that selfish time for self-improvement, right? Because if we don't take that time, then we're only 60% for somebody else, you know. Then it becomes 20% for somebody else, and we're burning the candle at both ends, right? And then,
I mean, at points I was chopping the candle into pieces and handing them out to people.
Yeah,
like it got rough.
Yeah, I mean, it however you want to break it down metaphorically, it's true. Like mentally, physically, it's exhausting.
Yeah, man, I'm recovering from a freaking ulcer right now. Like it can get like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got to manage that stuff.
Yeah, the stress. You know, I went through a deep kind of like health journey the last, you know, 2 years, 3 years. The last year of it's been, you know, VA appointments and really learning what's going on with my body.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah. You're starting to grow hair in certain places. These are normal.
Okay.
We can talk about this.
The doctor didn't even want to tell me that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you just dinosaurs don't exist either. What kind of crazy doctor are you going to?
No, I don't know.
If you start feeling feelings, let me know.
One that doesn't believe in dinosaurs, apparently.
Or science, probably.
You know what? It was Doug.
Oh, there's your problem.
That's why.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah, mistakes were made.
Doug, we love you, man.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where, like, I took a deep dive, and it's not just learning the physical aspects of what's going on with me to be able to improve myself, you know, my health-wise, you know. You know, I suck at breathing. I realize that now.
Yeah. Well, this is the first talking point.
Yeah, this is our first talking point. You know, but it's one of those things, like it's an essential part to staying alive.
Contrary to popular belief, I am not a plant. Photosynthesis does not apply.
Whatever. If you don't have oxygen, it's the end of your, it's your demise.
It goes to your brain.
Yeah.
Makes you do things.
Makes you think certain ways. But anyways, the point was sleep, right?
Yeah.
So like with sleep, like for me, like, being a shift worker, and there's many shift workers out there, not just myself, right? Shift working a back shift, for 10 and a half years, right? Then add on like military stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
I did a sleep study. The VA said, I didn't request it. They sent me to get a sleep study, right? Because they're picking up in these cues and stuff like that. Sleep insomnia, the insomnia, the sleep apnea, the whole 9 yards, CPAP. Here you go, join Space Force, right? That's pretty much where I'm at now, right? I have now transferred from the Army to Space Force, and during my Z's, I am serving in a different way.
Yeah. You're you space shuttle gunner?
Yeah, space shuttle gunner, door gunner, and just Seth, I am your father.
Mom, you got some questions to answer.
But it is important, right? Because it affects how we interact with people. It affects our mood,
Mhm.
you know, it affects our daily activities,
Mhm.
you know, and getting not just uh amount of sleep, but adequate. You know, everybody's is different, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 5 hours is good for somebody. Somebody needs 9. You know, like
Yeah, I'm a 5-hour kind of guy.
it is.
I might need more. I honestly don't know, but I'm operable.
Yeah,
You know.
and that's the thing is like I didn't realize how bad like one my sleep apnea was,
Mm-hmm.
and how bad of sleep I was getting, right? And then when I focused on that, and you know, obviously I'm focused on the other stuff, but that's like the rudimentary thing of like good sleep, quality sleep. And before up until that point, like when I did the sleep study, it was the first time that I had a dream, like got into REM sleep
Wow.
in about 11 years.
Shit, man.
Right. And, you know, I like, so they told me, Mr. Landry, we will only come wake you up. You know, if you have severe sleep apnea, it's on the weekend. We don't have to wake the doctor up.
Mm.
You know, open the door. That's how I remember it because I was kind of in and out of sleep.
Yeah.
You know, and
You
he's
just
like,
full SWAT raid while you're
the
sleeping.
SWAT raid, throws the mask on,
flashbang
you know,
through the window.
He already hooked up to all these machines, looking like, you know,
not a hitman.
Yeah, you're already looking like Avatar, hooked up to all these machines. I'm not floating in a basin of water or whatever. But you know, it comes in the room he's in, obviously their lights are on. So I just see this silhouette of a man coming towards me and just going, Mr. Landry, we need to put the mask on. And I'm like,
what 1960s sci-fi horror did you live in?
But that's what I was thinking, like as it was happening, and I'm like, okay. He could have totally been like trying to like, you know,
just
put me out of my misery
right there.
Yeah, you know. So he puts it on, and it was the first time in like 11 years, maybe a little bit longer, that I actually got like a deep, good quality sleep. And I don't even remember how long it was from he put it on to when he woke me up again and said, hey, it's time to leave, get out. Right. But during that time, like I woke up and I was like, oh my God. Like I'm not
sleep like you did before you had kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I'm not 100%, you know, but I have more energy than I ever had in the last decade. Right. And, you know, then fast forward, you know, you go down, you get your machine, you know, and they say, thank you for joining Space Force, you know, and they hand you your mask and they fit your mask and, you know, they get your helmet and everything else ready to go. Just kidding. You don't get a helmet. How cool would it be though? Is
I want to be a cosmonaut.
Instead of actually getting like, you know, your normal CPAP thing, what if you actually got like a flight helmet that had the mask?
That's what's up. I want to sleep like Maverick.
Right. That's where my brain was.
You know, my first goal was just to have a race car bed and a CB radio to talk to other race car beds. Now that's my goal.
It's a noble calling to join the armed forces and defend our freedoms. It's a testament to the determination and love freedom requires to care for your family while your spouse is deployed. It's a profound honor to uphold the legacy of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. It's inspiring to choose to support veteran-owned businesses. It's rewarding to give of your time and resources to veteran service organizations. Together, we can lift our veterans and show them our heartfelt gratitude. They've given us so much. Let's give back with all the support and appreciation they deserve.
So you have a race car bed currently?
No, it's hard to achieve some of my goals.
Oh,
I can't convince the wife about a race car bed.
Oh,
yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning, having a conversation with somebody on your CB radio while she's trying to sleep.
Ryan, you up?
But you know, at the long point, but I think it needs to be hammered home, you know, and I had Rob Sweetman, Navy SEAL. He's divin. I said
dove.
I said divin.
Wow, you get some real audacity today.
Audacity today.
It's a callback joke.
Yeah. But I had Rob Sweetman on, and that's what started like my journey of diving into my sleep, right? So you can look on TikTok, whatever, social media, LinkedIn. He's dubbed the sleep genius, and he's dove into.
He is the sleep diver.
He's the sleep diver.
Yeah, it's the title for his new book. Call me if you need more.
But he has a wealth of knowledge, and he's dove into, you know, the actual research and everything with doctors and stuff, because his turning point was one of his Navy SEAL buddies committed suicide, and, you know, sleep deprivation, the whole 9 yards. And he thinks, you know, and believes, and it's scientifically proven that when we don't get good adequate sleep, that
we pronounce sleep.
Yeah. Then you start pronouncing things and saying words that don't
you start
exist.
getting real up there with audacity levels, and
audacities go through the roof.
But you know what? You have a fantastic point, and not always is it a medical reason, right? It's not always something that's deliberate with the body. My thing, when I start to lack in the sleep department, and I've always lacked in the sleep department, when I start to get like maybe 3 hours a night, it's normally when I'm just overloaded, I'm stressed. And it's not a matter of like Seth went to bed and then just tossed and turned for hours. It's Seth got home, Seth continued to do work, you know, late into the night, do whatever he had to, whether it be for work, whether it be for, you know, our show or the organization, or from my family. And then eventually at a point in time in the night, all of it stops, right? And we're done. But where's the time for Seth to decompress? Well, that time can sometimes be between 11 and 1 in the morning, you know, and it could just be something as simple as watching TV. So I'm losing sleep, but I'm gaining sanity at the same time. But then I'm also kind of, you know, not performing at my best when I'm rolling into the next day.
Right.
And you know, sometimes that's for me. Like when I start to feel myself staying up late at night, I try to go, man, you really should get some sleep, but it's nice to just kind of sit here in that quiet, like we were talking about earlier, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I think one of the big points to it is, you know, when you decompress, like you find that time to be able to let your mind just not think about anything. Right. So often than not, like we get ourselves worked up and we can't turn our brains off.
Yeah.
Right. And that has an adverse effect on us actually falling to sleep and getting good sleep and everything else. And, you know, we go through it. Many people go through it, not just veterans, right? You got a busy life, or you got so much on your mind that, you know, you're thinking about the next day because you want to try to control what happens.
Yeah.
Right. And
especially as veterans, we don't roll into things without a plan.
Right.
We have 1, 2, 3 A, B, C, like we got plans, and we're not willing to just kind of shoot from the hip in most of our days and our tasking. So we keep that moment to figure out what we're going to do next sometimes.
Yeah. I just had to text the wife, turn the dryer off.
Oh yeah.
Something is in there. I think it's the cat. We don't even own a cat.
That makes it work. Where did you get the cat from? No.
Yeah. But I think it's very important. You know, I'll have an episode, you know, dives more into that. And I've had people reach out of like topics of conversation in which, you know, because they know I have doctors, and I have, and it's not just doctors that like they were in the medical field the whole time, right? Yeah. There are veterans as well that have received their doctorate and have dove into certain studies to be able to help the veteran community, or the community in a whole, based on their life experience as well.
Very noble. I like that.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where you don't always learn something in a book, right? You got to learn it off a life experience from other people as well, you know, and get that perspective, you know. And I think it's, you know, we talked about it before, like you don't have to just go to college in order to be successful and be able to learn and grow and everything else, you know. So I think it's important to be able to have many people on from many different walks of life, be able to get that perspective of, you know, okay, you know, the main big topics, right? You have PTSD, you have TBI, you have physical ailments, whatever the case. Those are big aspects in the veteran community, right? People in the civilian world, there are people that have those as well. Do you not think you can get perspective from people just because they didn't serve?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
So, I mean, it's a solid point, and it brings me back to a thought. I was watching another show where they were talking about, you know, those like PTSD and things like that. And some of the struggles that some combat veterans might go through. One of the more common things is just kind of being angry all the time. Like, you know, they'll always say that, like, he or she was so angry, they're pent up.
Right.
And this gentleman that was on the show said, you know, I had the epiphany when I realized that I can't use that as an excuse for me just being an asshole.
Right.
Right. And I was like, holy crap. Like, am I a combat veteran? No, I'm not. Do I have PTSD? No, I don't. But I can't use anything that might have been happening to me as an excuse as to why I was being an ass.
Right.
You know, to my wife or my kids or my friends or my coworkers and stuff. Like, it's not an excuse. So there's a great example of like what you just said. Like, I took that same lesson from that and went, you know what? If he can do it with that, I can do it with me.
Right.
Like, let's be reflective upon ourselves. You know, could you really justify your actions because of those things? Most of the time, I'm going to say no.
Right.
All right. Let's fix that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is, like, you know, you can have those serious conversations, right, with other people or with yourself. I talked to Doug about it, having the board meeting up in my head.
Oh yeah. Mental board meetings.
Board meetings. You know, it's important. You know, I use that metaphor because, like, that's how my brain operates. Like, I need to, you know, have a board meeting with myself, figure out what's going on.
Mine's a podcast. We're just basically doing it right here, right now.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. I just berate myself. You know, like the Frost Nixon interview. Like, why'd you destroy the tapes, Seth?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's important, you know, and I think it will help. Is it going to be the end all be all solver for all problems? No. Right. But it's part of the aspect of growth. It's part of the aspect of being a better person, you know, and doing it for you. Right. And that aspect is, you have to be selfish. You have to be selfish in those moments to know and learn and accept who you are, what you're going through, and how to improve yourself, and be selfish in that aspect to be able to then put yourself back out there and be 100% for you first, and then people afterward.
Yeah. Just because you know you, and just because you know your story and you know how you feel doesn't give you a free pass to not be critical of yourself.
Right.
Right. And that's me. It's, you know, constantly being critical of myself.
Yeah. And the other aspect too, it's not just being critical, but also giving credit.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a hard one. I feel like that's even harder.
It's harder because it's that negative whirlpool cycle down of, you know, finding negative, then you find another negative on top of negative. Now you're in this direction is just negative.
Well, yeah. I mean, if anybody's ever worked a job where you had a review, like an annual review, and they're saying, okay, what are 3 weaknesses? And everyone's like, you 3, that's it? That's all you want?
Right.
I'm like, okay, now give me 3 strengths. Let me just sit there and struggle. But
right.
I don't know what I'm good at.
Yeah.
And well, you know, it's just as important to find those things that you are good at.
Right.
Because those are your strengths.
Yeah.
So how can you utilize those things in a way to make your weaknesses better?
Right.
Like, take those weaknesses, use your current strengths, attack the weakness, make them strengths now.
Right.
So it's harder to be critical of yourself and try to figure out what you're good at.
Right.
Or things that are going well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you don't normally solve problems that aren't problems, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I do think as well that, you know, being critical and giving credit and stuff like that, you know, I've had people reach out and, you know, be like, hey, talk about this, talk about that. I'm going through this. You know, I want to make it very clear that I can't fix the problem for you. I'm not you, right? Just like you can't fix the problem for me. If you want to call it a problem, right? I don't call it a problem, right? I call it an obstacle, right? Because that's how I've changed my mindset to say, this is something I need to get through or get over or get around. Right. And we create these quote problems. Right. And if we change our mindset into being, these are obstacles, right? I can go, it's like, what was it? Sesame Street, over, under, and through.
Yep. Over, under, and through.
Over, under, and through.
That's also OSHA's standard for guarding machinery.
That's weird.
I know. I just realized that.
Why would that trigger into your podcast told you to tell that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Also, I work in manufacturing. So.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. But it's true. Like, you treat whatever a hand, you know, you want to call it a problem, but have the mindset that it's an obstacle. You can get over, around, over, you know, through it, whatever.
Yep.
Right.
Phase through it. Pick one.
Yeah. Pick one of them. However you get there. The point is, however you get there, right? And this is a deep life conversation, right? You and I may get to this, X point, right? But the journey getting there may be different.
Yep.
Right. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Right. And, people have used that analogy before of, we can get to the same place, but my journey to get there and your journey may be different. Is it wrong? No, because the journey I took, I learned X amount along the way. That's why perspective from other people is so important.
Yeah. Think of it as training, right? Not everybody needs the same level of training.
Right.
Some people need a little bit longer of a journey.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's what's important. Hey, what do you call a doctor that graduated last in his class, right?
Yeah.
Doctor.
So
if it took you a little bit longer to get there, you got there, man.
Yeah, you got there. Now, I mean, do they do, just a greater job as the next one? Maybe not. Maybe they do. Maybe they do a better job, right? Maybe they're just not book smart like that, right? And that's a whole aspect of like,
are you meeting your own expectations?
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Fails, meets, or exceeds. Pick which one you want, man.
Yeah. And you can't have success, right, without failing and learning and everything else, because
that's when you have to be reflective.
Right.
If you don't reflect on your failures, then you will never get past those.
Well, the other point too is you have to accept and know, right, that you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Right. There's going to be failures. Right. And so often than not, and it's happened to me in the past before, and it, may happen in the future, not right very this moment as we're speaking, but, there may be failures where I go, I just can't do this.
Yeah.
Right. But then I have that self-reflection. I do my Control-Delete method that, I picked up along the way. I didn't make it up. Right. Somebody else came up with that.
With the Control-Delete.
Control-Delete.
Yeah.
Control myself, alter my mindset, delete the negativity.
Oh, I thought you were making a joke. That's actually pretty clever.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So I use that method, right? And I talk about it all the time because I think it's important. I've used it for myself. And if somebody else can use it, right, and adapt it into their life.
Yeah.
And it's a positive outcome of the direction you want to go or want to be, then it's a win-win.
Don't let your failures go to waste, man.
Yeah.
Don't let them be for nothing.
Yeah.
That's ultimately is don't let it be for nothing. Don't let it just be a bad thing that happened. Let it a bad thing that happened that made something good happen afterwards.
Right.
Let that be the cost of something good.
Right. And I kind of dumb it down, like when you're going through like, kind of building a podcast, buying equipment, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
They're like, unless you have like an extreme budget right out the gate, right? Most podcasts just start with your laptop, maybe a little mic, maybe some headphones, whatever.
Campbell's soup can and a string tied to your computer modem. If you don't know how it works.
Yeah. Send it through, Windows 95 and
it's Minesweeper.
But along the way, even like when you go and buy stuff, like if you even do the research, sometimes there's stuff that's not compatible with others and you wasted money and you're still in the spot you need something.
Yeah.
So,
now you got all this extra equipment just laying over there that you really can't use for anything.
Yeah.
We've been there.
Yeah.
We've had those moments.
Yeah. There's no actually equipment over here. He's just staring into space, having a bored conversation with himself.
Yeah. There is nothing actually over there. I'm staring at a wall right now.
Yeah.
But,
but the point is, those, you can treat them as like failures. You kind of failed a little bit. You didn't do your research. You didn't look up what you need, stuff like that. We've all been there.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not just with podcasting, right? It's with anything. Like you think it's going to work. And
maybe I could come in a little bit more prepared for this one.
Yeah.
Do more, you're going to have to be quicker than that,
Yeah. And it's one of those things, with anything that you apply it into is okay. It's like customer referrals, right? Of product or business, service, whatever. You're gonna reach out to people and be, oh yeah, I use this. It works phenomenal. And you get a lot of times get that source of information from somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they've already went through it. It's the same concept.
I mean, I did that with you, right? With your scheduling program that you use. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make me one of those.
Yeah. It works. It works great because now I can kind of take my brain off of like the back and forth. These are my available dates.
Yeah.
Throw yourself on the calendar.
Yeah. Add a questionnaire in there, to give you a little bit of information before they come on the show.
Yep.
And you can learn from other people's mistakes as well.
Right.
And
that's
why it's important to share them.
Yeah.
Like I like to be open and honest about some of my mistakes, some of them are more personal, and I save those for the personal people. But like I talked about on the show, like, you know, I got to the boat the first like 3 months, I was a shitbag. I was a horrible sailor. You know, and I had that honest question with myself. So I like to share that with people in hopes that, you know what, maybe you can try that and see if that helps you. I'm like, I'm okay with sharing it, because if it makes you better, it made me better. And it makes me better to remember it too. That it'd be like, no, I did this, you know, I wasn't performing the way I wanted to perform. I wasn't who I wanted to be. I was super reflective about it. And I started the clear path to where I am now. And each day I'm a little bit more happier with who I am.
And I would have to say too, on that front of, you know, only sharing certain stuff, like that is important as well, right? Because you want to have, you know, your ride or die, right? The people that you can count on at a moment's notice, they can count on you, like whether it's your family member, brother, sister, whatever, friend. And those are the people you trust with that information to be able to tell them about, right? You have this digress of information as it goes out. You don't have to like jump on a podcast and be like, here's my entire story. Right. You don't have to, you don't have to do that.
Moments, you know,
you don't have to do that. And you don't like, there could be moments that you don't have to bring up, and that's perfectly fine. You have to, the point is you have to have somebody, right? A healthy somebody to be able to, you know, it's healthy for you and it's healthy for them, you know, where they know you a little bit more. They're able to be there for you, you know, in those times, you know, or if things arise or whatever the case may be.
It's hard for guys like us, you know, that are veterans, because often those ride or die, you know, brothers and sisters we left them behind when we started the next leg of our journey. You know, and that's really hard for a lot of people to deal with. You know, when that transition of basically, you know, my people are no longer my people. They're there, but you know, I've said it before. Sometimes it's like never really being able to go home again. You know,
well, it's the same concept. Like you have to build your new tribe, right? You essentially have become a nomad, you know, for the tribe in which you used to be with, right? And you forever will be a nomad, right? But you can still have those connections, right? We're spread out more, right? But we're still here. You know, I know in a moment's notice I can, you know, and I take pride in that too, of being able to stay connected the best way, shape, and form. Life takes over, right? But trying to stay connected with the guys I serve with. You know, am I doing the best job of it? In my eyes, I'm not doing a perfect job.
And it's always hard because you'll have your time in the service to compare to,
right?
All right, and it's apple to oranges,
right?
You know, it's when you were right there, you know, on the front lines with each other, you know, in the boat with each other, stand and watch, supporting each other. Like that's a different story from when now you live individual lives,
right?
All right, you had that common thing together, right? Because what do they say? Friends are made from shared experiences, all right? Well, when you're no longer sharing that experience together, you have to figure out a new way to connect with each other. And often it's going to be, at least I feel like in our community, it's a love for each other and understanding what we went through.
Right.
And wanting to look out for each other, you know, and not only the desire to have someone have their back, you know, that the classic, I got your six, but an equal desire to have someone's back. All right. We had a purpose for years, right? You took that purpose away when we left or when we had to leave. That kind of changes your identity of who you are. I know that was a hard time for me. You especially when you throw yourself into it as much as possible. For me, and we can kind of, I don't know, we want to shift into maybe talking about like some transition stuff, but like it's a big topic for me because I don't feel like it gets looked at enough.
Right.
And we talk about it all the time. So often when you hear, you read news articles or you watch documentaries, you know, or YouTubes, or you talk to, you know, the big cheeses of the veteran community, right? They talk about transitioning can be hard for a combat vet. And I will never knock a combat vet, you know, for the hard transition. My heart goes out, and part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I love them and I want to make sure that someone's there for them. My deep desire to have someone six, right? Because that's my purpose. But for the people that may not have gone through that, but everything they were was being in the military. Like for me, not graduating high school, all right, and not doing so hot when it came to my life beforehand, and kind of just making a series of bad decisions. When I joined the Navy, and then I kind of turned myself around real quick, and I started to do a lot better and be proud of myself. And I wasn't perfect all the time. I still made mistakes and stuff.
Yeah, nobody's perfect.
But I was very proud of who I was and what I was doing, and the brothers and sisters that I served with, and that lasting legacy that I was trying from the moment that I was in submarine school, when my grandfather was quoted by the sub pack. All right. So the admiral who was in charge of the entire Pacific fleet of submarines quoted my grandfather as his first chief of the boat. I don't remember what he said. I was falling asleep in the audience, but that was enough for me. I was like, that's it right there. That's what I want. I want that legacy. So I wrapped myself into, what am I going to leave behind? And that was who I was. And so when I left, I didn't know who I was anymore. And that's why, like I said earlier, I use the term, it's like never being able to go home again.
Right.
And for the first year, right, I would drive home, right, and go out of my way just to go drive by the base and just look at it, just look, and just be sad I can't go in there anymore.
Right.
I wonder, did I make the right choice? I'm here. I'm with my family. I'm spending more time with my children. This is fantastic. This is wonderful. I get to grow a beard. I'm digging it, right? And I'm doing well in my job. And but it still wasn't the same, And so we don't talk about that with people just getting out.
Right.
It's how much did you devote yourself to being that, and suddenly you're not, right? If you told a UFC fighter he couldn't fight anymore, or a race car driver that can't race anymore, or Michael Jordan he could never play basketball again when he was at the top of his game, that would destroy them.
Right.
All right. So when you make that choice to leave and put a priority over your family, like I did, which still to this very day is the best decision I could have made for me and my family, it is hard to deal with.
Right.
And nobody quite understands that. So we don't talk about that stuff enough. We don't talk about how I don't know how to talk to my colleagues in a manner that won't piss them off, or to be brutally honest, or I don't understand why people can't think the way I think. Why is this so hard for you? And you get angry at them.
Right.
Right. And you there's this level of resentment of, why is it difficult for you to be so organized? Why is it difficult for you to not be as efficient as possible? And then you have to get angry with yourself of, why am I angry with my wife right now? Because she took a left turn instead of going straight, because if she went straight, it would have shaved off 30 seconds, from the drive that we were doing.
Right.
But it gets like that sometimes. You threw everything you had into that.
Yep.
And then you left it behind, and now you're not it. What do? Who's there to understand that?
Yeah.
We don't talk about that enough.
No. And people breeze past it with, you got to find new identity. You got to find new purpose, but they don't talk about how.
How do I do that?
How do you get there?
How do I deal with just the day-to-day stuff? I mean, we got the jokes of like, how does a veteran say, I appreciate your idea, and we'll take it into consideration. When we were in the Navy, it was like, shut the hell up, Johnson, you're a friggin' idiot,
Right, yeah.
And that was acceptable. All right. So we'll joke about that stuff, but how do I don't know, how do I perceive the world around me in a different manner?
Yeah.
Here's a really difficult one for me. I had a hard one with this, is that, so I come into my first big boy job, as I like to call it, as a civilian, right? In a leadership role, it's a bunch of people. And I come in there, all right, ready to go, hit the ground running, being like, I'm going to turn every single one of these people into the greatest versions of themselves possible, because that's what we did when we were in the service, right?
Right.
It's drilled into us. It's ingrained into our DNA to not only better ourselves, but the individuals that we are responsible for.
Make them better than who we are.
Yeah. So, and if you're like me, you love doing that. It's such a passion. I would love it when my guys would start to be successful, and I would just feel so good. I'm like, great. I'm leaving that legacy that I wanted to leave. So what happens when all those people don't give a shit?
Right.
And they're super comfortable with where they are. So you have all of this inside you. Where do you put it?
Right.
What do you do with it?
Yeah.
You can't just change that.
No.
Like in that moment, you can't just shut that switch off.
No.
And it bothers you,
Right.
keeps you up. It makes you wonder, you second guess yourself. Did I make the right choice? Am I even able to do this? You know, and then you start maybe even feeling a little bit resentful towards the military that you might have been brainwashed. And then you hear people say that to you. And it's hard.
I think as far as part of the aspect to that is we get so used to the high level of leadership skills in which we're taught, in which we're given as well, for the great leaders in which we had above us.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're so used to that atmosphere, that culture, that climate of, you know, we build upon each other, you know, and we're so used to that. That's the camaraderie, right? That's the definition of camaraderie.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
People talk about, you know, the brotherhood, camaraderie. Well, what is it? That's what it is.
Yeah. That was my brother making sure I did everything possible to do right by him and him to do right by me, and for us to better each other and ourselves.
Right. And when you lose that, or you have that feeling of losing that,
mm-hmm.
right? You have that feeling of being lost, right? You have that feeling of, who am I now,
mm-hmm.
right? Who can I connect with on that same level, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I had my neighbor, Ken Curtin, current base commander for the sub base over here for an episode. And we had L. David Marquette, who wrote Turn the Ship Around remote. And, you know, I mean, Ken's been in, you know, his entire life, right? He started when he was like 18, right? And he's the commander. He was enlisted first, went officer. I think he's been in like 40 years, right? 40.
That's very uncommon.
Yeah. 30, maybe 40. I think it's 40 plus, actually.
Yeah. If you're an officer, they're gonna let you do
I think
that.
it's 40 plus, right? So anyways, so you got him, you know, currently serving. You got, you know, retired commander, wrote a book, talked about his experience of turning the ship around. You know, and that's what the title of the book is too.
Yep.
You know, we talked about this. We talked about that high level of leadership that you have in the military. We expect it getting out. It's not there. It's not there.
No,
it's not there.
And not everybody's going to be receptive to it or even want it.
No, because what happens in the civilian world, right, and with many jobs, is people are more inclined to hold on to information for themselves to grow themselves,
mm-hmm.
but not to help the group better themselves. And that's what damages the culture and affects the climate and the trajectory that it goes on,
mm-hmm.
right? And that's the main kind of roots of building a better culture within the environment in which you're learning, you're growing, you know, you're working in, you know, and that culture is a long-term thing,
mm-hmm.
right? Having an adverse effect on culture in a positive direction is a long-lasting effect on an organization, a group of people, a community, and the climate in which, you know, is within that community, that group of the organization, the climate in which the tone that you set, right? Either as leaders, everybody can affect the climate.
Yeah.
But it's more of a short-term thing, right? The culture is what's going to drive
mm-hmm.
the group, you know, an organization into a better direction.
Yeah.
And it's longer lasting.
And it's hard to take all those skills you learned and those leadership techniques and those worldviews and transplant it into a culture that you might not know much about.
Right.
That's like they say, like, oh, you need to reintegrate into civilian life. Man, I joined when I was like 19 years old. I never integrated in the first place. I was a kid.
Right.
I don't know what it's like out here. I didn't. You know how, let's put it this way. First time I ever got a bonus in the civilian world, I was shocked. All right. The fact that I found out they got pay raises annually, I was blown away. I didn't understand that. I was like, I just assumed I just got to get to the next position. Right. Gain the next rank. That's what I do. You know, and it's just completely shocking. Like you can't tell me to reintegrate when I was never part of it in the first place. I was a kid, you know, when I came in here. It's it's, you know, I can go on it for hours, but it's one thing that I'd like to see people at least talk about more.
Yeah.
You know, and with each other too, and understand that it's okay, man. It's rough.
Mm.
And sometimes that's why it's important to find those people and kind of wean yourself off of it. For me, that was joining the Guardians of the Purple Heart, man. I was struggling. It was rough. I mean, I come home, I hadn't even thrown my uniforms out yet. Been out for like 2 years. All right. I'd be in tears. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do this job. And I don't want to go home either and suffer the embarrassment that I hate what I do. And then I had, my best friend, Nick Ransom, who's the president. I think he was vice president at the time, but president now of the Connecticut chapter for Guardians of Purple Heart. Said, "Hey, buddy, how about you come out to our recipient dinner?" Okay. And I was like, "Sure, buddy, man, I could just use some hanging out time, with you," because I was just working constantly. So I go out there, and man, his ass puts me to work. And I'm sweating over a friggin' grill that's the fires of hell, on a hot day, grilling for like 100 people, making sure this thing goes off the best I can. And I don't really know anybody there, but man, I feel good because I got a purpose again. And I'm around some people that I can just feel that similarity between us. And I got to witness a beautiful thing. I got to witness a brother who had gone through some serious stuff while he was overseas get shown a tremendous amount of love, to the point of tears. And it took a lot to keep me, from bawling myself. But I was like, that's it. All right, I'm in. What do you want me to do?
It's a noble calling to join the armed forces and defend our freedoms. It's a testament to the determination and love freedom requires to care for your family while your spouse is deployed. It's a profound honor to uphold the legacy of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. It's inspiring to choose to support veteran-owned businesses. It's rewarding to give of your time and resources to veteran service organizations. Together, we can lift our veterans and show them our heartfelt gratitude. They've given us so much. Let's give back with all the support and appreciation they deserve.
All right. I was like, take me, please. This is what I want. This is what I need. You gave me a purpose. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm 100% on board.
Yep.
And that's why I always say is that these organizations serve the people that are in them as much as it serves the people that they are for.
Right.
I am a guardian for me and for them.
Yep.
Right. And that's what's important, because for me, it's like, maybe I just need to wean myself off a little bit and kind of dip my toes into being something that's not just Sailor Seth. That's not, Navy Seth that's hard charging, or at least trying to be, and getting shit done. Let's not really rediscover who I am, but just actually discover who I am. And realize that my occupation wasn't necessarily who I was, but how I acted in that occupation. Right. It was the community that I was in. And it's like, I can still have that. I just don't have it in a large amount.
Yep.
But in a way that makes those few a little bit more meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And I can take all that energy and go, you know what? I got a brother out there who might be in need too. Let me go help him out.
Yeah.
And that's, that's what was important to me. So I get involved with these charities. Like I said, if you want to help the community, that's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, come on board. I'd love to have you. But if you're in need, man, if you don't have purpose, stop by. I'll give you purpose. Yeah. A purpose you'll be proud of too.
Yeah.
And if that's not quite it, man, we'll find you one. It's all right.
Yeah. And I think along the way too, like, I mean, you can find purpose in what you do in the connections to what you make. But people have, it's kind of like, anything like a song, right?
Mm-hmm.
People can connect with a song in a different way. It has a different meaning for them.
Yep.
Right. It could be the same song, and I connect with it based on events in my life or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how I connect with it. And it's meaningful to me in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's the same concept, that, you may do the same thing or similar things, say within Guardians or, any other organization. But you're going to have that purpose and it's going to mean something to you in your way, but the only way to do that, you have to get uncomfortable first.
Yeah.
Right. That's the big elephant in the room.
And you have, wow, what a good point. that you had right there. Because it was when I started to get, I needed to get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable again.
Yeah.
I had to remember that.
Yeah.
And we got taught that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that was a really good point. You know, it actually made me lose my thought for a second.
Yeah,
I'm
it was that good.
It was that good.
It's true though. I mean, you have to be uncomfortable when you put yourself in a position like me doing this, right?
Mhm.
I didn't go through any media classes or anything like that. And, you know, I reached out to, shout out to Reading Audio, and the owner, CEO of Reading Audio. You know, I reached out to him and said, you know, hey man, I'm thinking about starting, this is, you know, before I actually start anything. I know nothing about what's good quality, because you go on the Googles or you go on the Amazons and you type in podcast equipment and all of this, you know, 5,000 different items and packages come up.
I mean, I knew it was there. I just I was like, it's a money thing, you know?
Yeah. But I didn't know what I know now of like what's quality, why it's quality, you know, and what works with what doesn't work with, you know, this and stuff like that. And on top of it, you know, I had the run-of-the-mill HP Pavilion, 140.
Dude, you get a Dell.
$200 special laptop, right? Then I'm like, I'll just plug everything in here. Yeah, like, you know, so
it'll work. So it'll make a turd.
Yeah. So now I get to the point, and like the computer I have now, it's like I didn't even know computers had radiators and they're water cooled, and you know, so like, because I'm not a gamer, I'm not, you know. I did download Call of Duty Modern Warfare on the computer, just to kind of see how the graphics were.
Oh yeah,
just to reminisce.
I did the same thing when I bought mine. I was like, I'm gonna buy the most graphic intense game right now, and I'm probably not gonna play it. I just want to see what it can do.
Yeah, and then I realized how bad of a gamer on a computer I am.
Oh yeah,
you know, because
I still play with a controller.
The last actual video game I played before I started into this, right? Halo.
Like OG Halo?
OG Halo. You know,
at least you left off on a good title.
My brother and I, like every time I got that sword that lit up, I ruled the world. He could never get me.
I just want to snipe people with a pistol from across the map. It was great. To go back to the point, because I just, because when we start talking about something different is when you remember it.
Yeah.
Right. For me, it was it's what was the service for you.
Right.
And I actually came to this realization after I got out of the service. Before the Navy, I was a failure in my eyes. Not my family's or anything. In my eyes, I was a failure. In the Navy, I wasn't a failure. All right. I had proven in the world that I wasn't useful, or like completely useless. All right. That I could actually do something. When I left, now what am I? Am I still useful?
Right.
Right. And so I tried to take the usefulness that I had while I was in and apply it the same way when I was out. Right. And so then that ties into what you said, right? Get uncomfortable or comfortable with being uncomfortable, like go to that place. And it started to get better when I started to do that. It was where I would, you know, sometimes I would just talk to my boss and be like, I don't understand this. Like, and it would be like, I don't know, how do I deal with this person? How do I look at it in this way? You know, stopping myself and then managing my expectations. You know, it's not like it was when you were in the service. Like there isn't a clear line to your success, and it's just how hard you friggin' grind.
Right.
It can be a little more nuanced out here.
Yeah.
And so that was me. It can get rough.
Yeah.
It can get rough.
Yeah. And you know, with that, you know, being comfortable, getting uncomfortable. Right. If you keep doing stuff that you're comfortable with, right, you're going to more than likely not grow exponentially to the point that you could be. You're leaving yourself short, right, of growing as a person, right? Not just as relationships, stuff like that. There's so much growth that can happen on a personal level, right? That can have a trickle down effect to everything in your life.
Yeah.
And putting yourself into that uncomfortable sense of, most people don't step into it, right? And I was the same way, right? And I still have a little bit of it, right? Every time I do a podcast episode, right, I still have a little bit of it, and it's good. I like it, because if I don't, then I know that I'm losing my direction, right? Because you have to be uncomfortable to learn, to grow, to realize that you don't know everything. right? And you have to take instruction and guidance and value from people that may know what you don't, and get that perspective, because people have been on the similar trajectories which we've been on, or other people have been on. And if we don't open our ears, actively listen, process what's going on, make a strategic plan for our own lives to be able to say, okay, this is useful. I can apply it here, right? This isn't useful, maybe right now, right? But you save it.
Yep.
Right? Because you may run into a situation where it may become useful. All information is good information.
All information is good information.
And it's a very, very point to hit home of, we get so sucked into just life, right? We forget about how it has an effect on others when we don't open our minds, right? It comes off maybe as rude, maybe as inconsiderate, maybe as
cold,
calloused, whatever the case may be. There's a difference between ego, right? And pride, right? And being prideful of who you are, where you've come from, what you're doing, the trajectory you're going on, right? But when you can't knock ego to the side, like, I kind of hate that whole thing is like egotistical, right? Most of the time, those are the people that's like, they're scared of getting uncomfortable.
Yep.
Right. Because they can't bring themselves to admit that they don't know everything.
Yeah.
Right? They can't bring themselves to admit that you may know more than them. Right. And they can't learn from you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the biggest thing with that is, if you get yourself into that corner, right, you have to check yourself, right, and be like, I can't do this. I can't do this.
That one's always been a hard one for me to understand, and some people, just because I don't know. I've always been appreciative of any source of knowledge that's for myself. So you're better at something than me. Like, I don't particularly care. I find it cool. You could stand up and do a backflip right now. I'm going to find it amazing because I can't do a backflip, but I find it interesting.
I would 100%.
Your ninja training is classified, and we can't demonstrate it on camera.
Exactly. I can't talk about it.
Okay.
I'll bust my ass. You try to get me to do a backflip right now, man. Oh man, God. I haven't trained in ninja skills in a while. I'm still trying to
wonder if backflip has a hyphen in it or not. I don't know if I can spell it, let alone do it.
Starts with a PH.
Yes.
or PY.
Fat flip.
Fat flip. Yeah. I mean, it is one of those things. It's not talked enough about. It may be talked enough about, but it's on a surface level.
Yeah.
Right. It's not in depth of, okay, people are talking about transition. People are talking about purpose. People are talking about identity, but they're not talking about how, why, who.
Like, I made a post the other day that, that it said, they trained you to what, or how to get out of the service, or they taught you what to do when you're getting out of the service, but they didn't teach you what to do when you wish you never left. Right. And, I mean, there's sometimes I just miss it, man. I mean, even to this day, I still have my uniforms. Yeah. Like I said, there were days where all I wanted to do was put my uniform on and go back to work. Like, that was my place. I just found a new place out here. Yeah. I found amongst community guys like you, I spent more time with my family. I started doing all kinds of stuff and just being like, you know what, I can reinvent myself. And then suddenly the idea of reinventing myself becomes fascinating. Right. It's like, okay, let's get a little uncomfortable. Let's try it. What's the worst thing you can do? They can take your birthday from you. Like, fuck off. Like, who gives a shit, man? Go have some fun.
Yeah. Well, they did that during COVID. Said don't blow out the candles, right?
Yeah. Don't take my damn birthday away.
Yeah. It's true though. I mean, a lot of us hold on to the past because that is our highest points of achievement sometimes, or it's a higher point achievement, but it was.
Yeah, I'm the veteran equivalent of I peaked in high school.
But it is one of those things, and I think we all share that common thought and philosophy of, the military is an amazing time, right? It is forever going to be probably the highest feeling and level that you're ever going to get of camaraderie, working together for a main purpose. And, I say that you can't have community without unity.
Best damn job I ever had.
It is the embodiment of a unified front working together to better each other.
Yep.
and moving forward in a forward direction as positive possible. There's ball busting and stuff like that. That's meant to be.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all right.
Right?
That's cool.
We could take it. Right.
Come here, poke me in the chest.
Yeah.
You know, do
But
fan room counseling every once in a while. It's all right.
Yeah. But here's the thing is like in the veteran community and in the military service, like that ball busting back and forth.
Yeah.
Right. We can do it outside of service. Right. But there are people, and this is for any civilian that's listening and watching right now.
Yeah.
Right. There is a different tact that goes with it.
Yes.
Right. When it's veterans doing it with veterans. Right. When you try to, it's kind of like trying to interject yourself into the inside joke and you weren't part of the inside joke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It becomes more of a ridicule, right? That's kind of how it's viewed. You know, the veteran kind of views it like that. It's a ridicule, right? Because it's like you haven't like experienced that. You don't actually know what I'm talking about. Do you even know what you're talking about?
Yeah.
You know, and it comes off abrasive.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think.
Yeah. Sometimes I like to remember the fact that, you know, they don't know. I mean,
yeah.
it doesn't mean it's they were doing it to be harmful.
I'm not saying
know,
I'm not saying that all the time, but there are times there is a line, right?
Yes.
There even
there is a demarcation line.
Even veteran on veteran, right?
Yeah.
There is a line between like, all right, we're joking.
Yeah, there were no-go jokes.
Yeah, and then there's like ridicule.
Yeah,
you know, where it just breaks you down and it's demeaning and stuff like that.
You know, you get a guy like, well, I don't know, maybe learn how to operate your goddamn machinery, and I don't have to come in here and fix it every once in a while. And you're like, yeah, whatever, buddy. It's just because I don't know how to fix that one part. But thanks for helping me. You know?
Yeah.
As opposed to like getting torn up, you know, and being like, you're a piece of crap. Like you have no friggin' purpose here. You're like, whoa, okay, it's a little different.
Well, when the person's intent is to like almost steal your value.
Yeah.
Right?
The words are the same, but the tones are different.
Right.
You know?
Almost steal your value that you don't have worth.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm talking about. That's where ridicule crosses the line.
Yeah.
Right. And it's stealing that personal value of you feeling like you're not worth anything.
Yeah.
You know, that's the ridicule aspect of it. And when people have that intent to do it and like you see it and smell it and hear it a mile away, then it's probably best to just kind of delete them out of your life.
Well, I mean, let's go to the backside of that situation though, because here's one that is another recent discovery for me too, is that I don't know about in the Army or the Marine Corps or in any other branches, but I know for specifically on submarines, I know it to be a fact, we're really good at letting shit go. The reason is because you got 140 something odd dudes on a boat, right? Well, ladies on a boat now. You don't have any place to go. You don't have to be like, get away from me, give my space. Dude, there's no space here. We're lucky we have racks.
Right.
You know? So if we beef for a moment, all right, if we want to go toe to toe, we want to yell at each other, we want to poke fingers at each other, call like point blame, call each other pieces of crap. You're not doing your job. You're not doing your job. We get it out. But then the moment we move away from there, we're done.
Yeah,
we left it because we got a job to do, and we got to be underneath this water for it in the next 7 to 8 months.
Yeah,
we got to be able to figure it out. In the civilian world, if you have a moment, even it's not as critical like that. Like there was no fan room counseling because I could slap you around, no one can hear you over the machinery type of that stuff. Just having a disagreement, or your personalities didn't mesh for a moment. Maybe you came to head, for that second. I will throw it out the window immediately afterwards and immediately, be ready to help that guy again. Where the other individual might hold on to that for a lot longer. And I don't really understand it. I'm like, well, right. Take a step back from your perspective. You had to learn how to do that for a very specific reason. Like Doug has said in our previous episodes, when it came to the training that we did in basic training, it's like, I learned how to fight fires. You learn how to shoot guns. I got 1 day of gun shooting. 2 days. Well, 1 day of actual gun shooting, another day of basically airsoft with no soft in it, just the air. It's almost friggin' pointless. Exactly. It's pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
But we were trained for our environments. All right. Most likely the thing that's going to kill me is the water or the fire. All right. So that's what I was training for.
Yeah.
So, I was trained for that. The culture trained me to act like that because it's what was needed. That's not exactly needed out here. They have some time to let those wounds heal where we have to friggin' suture that shit up real quick and move on with our lives. And so that's weird. That's a different experience. Like I said, we're not reintegrating. We're integrating. I have to learn how to be a civilian. Right.
Yeah. And so to that point of like, let it roll, off your back. And this is why I have people from all different walks of life come on the show, because you can get that perspective in a different way.
Mhm.
Right. So I had Craig Wayne Boyd, CWB y'all, and that's what his handle is and stuff like that. Season 7 winner of The Voice, Team Blake, just came out with a new song, Let It Ride, Let It Roll.
Yeah.
Right. And he equates it down to, just letting that rubber ducky go off your back.
Yeah, man.
And, simply put, but it's true, and you don't have to be a veteran to learn this stuff.
No. In fact, most of these lessons that I'm learning in my life, I'm learning from people who are not veterans.
Right.
And I'm actively applying them. How we do the little things is how we do everything. That's from a fellow football dad. Right. It's better to have 5 minutes of an awkward conversation than live with a lifetime of problems. All right. That was Larry Mostro, all right, owner of Spirit Gallery Tattoo. All right. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Right?
Amazing individual.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got, not a veteran.
Right.
All right. So, and you go both ways, right?
That's what I'm,
go both ways.
And that's what I'm saying is like, you don't have to, I think we get so stuck in the mindset, even though we get like a very high level of training and stuff like that, we get stuck in the mindset that we're not going to be able to gain value from people that haven't done the service in which we've done, which is false. 100% false.
That was wow. What a revolutionizing concept when I finally realized that. Is like, I don't need to go look, I don't need to go look at the 14th million Navy SEAL, tell me how to do things. You go find what's going to work for you, man. Yeah. So if I find that in reading ancient Norse poetry, all right, what you do, or I find that in Rob Halford from Judas Priest screaming at me from on stage, all right, that's okay. But that's where I got it. Right. There's the different paths. But we got to that point. That's all that mattered.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I try to hammer it home as much as I can, because getting stuck in that mindset, right? Altering your mindset is one of the most challenging things.
Yeah.
Right. For anybody to be able to do. Right. And on the surface level, we talk about positive, negative, right? And the influences on both sides. But actually altering it, how do I do it? Right.
Yeah.
And it's getting that perspective, and I think that's how we can better integrate and reintroduce ourselves as veterans, right? Is continuing to have that open mind of learning from anybody and everybody. As you get out, filter it in. It may be a load of crap.
Yep.
And it may be the best information you got. Or
take action and move.
In that load of crap, right? You may have found one little thing that applied to what you've already done, but that person.
We learn just as much from, like we always say, we used to learn just as much from our poor leaders as we do from our good ones.
Right. Because you take a little bit from everybody and you make it your own. That's how we create our new identity.
The Navy used to say to the chiefs, I never made chief, but I had a lot of friends that were, and I love to pull them for wisdom, because I collect wisdom. I lost where I was going with that.
Collecting wisdom from the chiefs.
And I don't know. I was thinking chiefs, and now I'm just thinking of chiefs and khakis and how it makes their blood.
I was thinking like Gandalf, like you collect the wisdom.
Collect the wisdom. Dude, I'm such a Lord of the Rings fan.
Are you?
Don't get me on this.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's funny that I made that reference.
I'm massive Lord of the Rings fan. I love talking.
Okay.
All right, I'll come back to it later. I'll remember what it was. That's that lack of sleep that we were talking about.
Yeah, it is.
Man, I got some dacity today.
You got that dacity. And we're back. Right.
Nice, we're back. All right.
Cool. Yeah, back to the dacity. But I mean, it's a testament to what you guys do, what I'm trying to do, what many other organizations are trying to do. And any other organizations and people out there, like we need to start sharing more, right?
With each other or with the public, or
both.
Yes.
Right.
100% agree.
Both. Like it needs to be a give and take, right? We can't sit here and just say we can do it all ourselves, right? I can't do what I do all by myself, right? I mean, granted, the editing, all that kind of stuff, I love doing that.
Yeah.
And
You have your wheelhouse.
I have my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like, I'm not a dog breeder, right?
Mhm.
So like my dog program, and
Still trying to hook you up with those German Shepherds. Still working on that.
okay.
Mhm.
That dog program, like I'm not a dog breeder. I can't just be like, I'm giving birth to a dog.
Hey, you guys go do that thing. I'm just going to read a book.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like, so I have that program. So I have the dog breeders,
Yep.
right? And then I don't do the training here.
Mhm.
I pay for the training.
Mhm.
Everlasting Veteran pays for the training.
Mhm.
But, I partnered recently with Dog Academy US Service Animals to be able to provide more service dogs.
Yeah. You know what? There's a nugget that we learned, right? It's, you don't need to know everything. Just need to know where to find everything.
Right.
Right. So you exercise your resources.
Well, and that is another thing we had in the military.
Yep.
I don't know the answer right now, but I'll go find it for you.
I'll go find it for you.
I'll go find it for you because that's the mindset you have to have getting out. Don't hate or love it. And I've talked to some people that they're like, never want to talk to about the military. It's the worst time of my life, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. To each is their own, right? So you're not going to change. We're not here to change people.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not here to say, join my cult. You have to believe what I believe.
What do you mean you didn't love it?
Yeah. I'm not here to do that, but if you want to get on a more positive trajectory to be able to grow as a person, whether it's talking about the military or not, this goes for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I got a buddy whose experience in the military, like I was very fortunate. I was so extremely fortunate to have such a good group of leaders that I just got really lucky to run into and serve with and learn so much from. But I have a close buddy. We joined the same time. We joined from the same town, right? Total different experience.
Right.
Got rolled over, and I witnessed it in a few cases where I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible. I would never make those decisions as a leader. Like, why? And so he left the service with a bad taste in his mouth.
Yeah.
But I've been slowly bringing him back in to be like, hey man, even though you had a bad time, like we still love you. Like you still fought the same fight that we did. All right. And in the end, like the war will come and go. The time in service will come and go. But you're going to have some people that love you, and want to hang out with you and want to make sure you're okay and take care of you. And we're bringing him into that fold right now. And his mind is blown. He's like, apparently I knew what I was missing now.
Yeah.
It's okay if you didn't like it, but we liked you. Like, come on, man.
And one of those like short clips, because sometimes I get knowledge from or perspective and stuff from like a short clip or whatever. And I believe it was Morgan Freeman, and he's sitting around the table with like Matthew McConaughey and a couple other like very well known people.
Yeah.
And he's saying, you're at your highest times, you're winning these awards and everything else, and this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're at your worst and things aren't going your way. And, you're getting a divorce, have money troubles. People aren't connecting with you the same way. You're not introducing yourself into the civilian world. He didn't say this, but I equate it to this. You're going through this stuff. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
Right. It's the ebbs and flows of life.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have your highs, you're going to have your lows. But at the end of the day, it's how you want to get around that obstacle, over, under, or through.
Yeah.
Right.
Over, under, through.
Over, under, and through.
Hey, you had to make an adjustment when you went in.
Yeah.
So you have to make an adjustment when you went into this.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have those breakdowns, in the simplicity, and we joke about it with like Sesame Street and stuff. And, but if you break down the concept of like the teachings, right, it is in practical use as a child, an adult, whatever. Sometimes we have to dumb it down, break it down Barney style.
Break down Barney style, man.
Like we say in the military.
Yep.
Right. Break it down Barney style, where maybe you don't connect with it a certain way I say it, but I break it down at a different level, and then all of a sudden you connect with it.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes we're not always operating mentally here. Sometimes we just need that, like, just let it freaking go.
Yeah.
Right. And just break it down as what it is, no complexity to it and stuff like that. And I think it's very important to remember those teachings from the military, carrying them into the civilian world, right? But have that open mind, like I said, to be able to break it down Barney style.
The
Where you need to go.
open-mindedness. And I was just thinking about this while you're here. We can use this as a new saying, right? We always say, when we joined the military and when we got out of the military, so let me talk about myself. We just said this in the last 30 minutes. Oh no, man, when I got out of the military, I struggled. All right. How about when I got into civilian life? When I joined civilian life. All right. Because when you joined the military, that shit wasn't anything. You didn't know what you were doing. You had to learn the lingo. You had to learn the way of thinking. You had to drink the Kool-Aid. You had to put on the uniform. You had to change the way you act, the way you talk, the way you speak. Don't walk on the grass. Swing your arms in the appropriate manner. All that stuff. So you always say you got in, you got out. What'd you do in the civilian world? You didn't just kick the bucket and you're just a zombie walking around. I got into being a civilian. So I have to learn how to do that too.
Yeah.
I learned how to be if I can learn how to be a sailor, I can learn how to be not a sailor.
Right.
And
the onus responsibility, like we talked about, the extreme ownership.
Yep.
Right. We have to, all of us. We're guilty of it sometimes. Maybe all the time.
Yeah.
Right. We have to stop placing blame on others.
Yeah.
Right. The biggest thing is that extreme ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can't blame somebody or something.
I'm responsible for my own actions
that you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you can't control it, you can't control how somebody is acting.
Oh my God. I remember one time when I was in, I was having such a stressful time. I think probably one of the most stressful moments in my entire life. I was going through a lot. And I was like, I got to figure out a way to just stop like being so freaking stressed out, like the shakes, like everything.
Yeah.
And it kind of dawned on me in that head podcast, the headboard meeting we talked about.
Yep.
I said, if I can do something about it, then why worry? And if I can't do something about it, well, why worry?
Right.
I can't do anything about it. Don't worry, just move on. Move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But make it a tomorrow problem. But if you can do something about it, fucking do it.
Yeah.
Man, come on. The other one I learned was what was it? Like I said, one of these days I'm gonna write down all the nuggets of wisdom I have, right, and just put them in a book. And at a bare minimum, just leave them for my kids.
I think you need a T-shirt that says "I'm a nugget of wisdom."
I'm a nugget of wisdom, and it's just have a little nug, little cheeky nuggy right there.
Yeah, I'm a nugget wisdom.
I'm a nugget wisdom, and I want the nugget to look like Gandalf.
Hey,
so you remember the deadly force triangle? All right, you ever hear that? All right,
the deadly
force triangle. So in order to use lethal force,
yeah,
had to read it. So which was capability, opportunity, intent. And so for the people who are either unfamiliar with that, due to the fact that they might have not had that military occupation while they were in, or if you're civilian and this is brand new to you, capability, opportunity, intent. All right, so you have to have the capability to put harm to me. You have to have the intent to put harm to me, and you have to have the opportunity. All right, so you can be 400 yards away, screaming like, I'm going to hurt you. I fully intend to hurt you. But you're just standing there butt naked. Like, all right. So you don't have a capability to do so.
Right.
All right. So I equate that to life as well. And your success and anything you want to go do, right, is capability, opportunity, intent. All right. So when I look at my failures, or if I failed at something, I balance it against those three things. All right. Capability, opportunity, and intent. It was, why didn't I do this? All right. Well, I have the capability. I know for a fact I do. All right. And I had the opportunity. It was there. So what was my intent level? Was it there enough?
Right.
All right. I need those three things in order to be successful at something or to correctly get something done. Right. I need the opportunity, the capability, and the intent to do it. All right. So sometimes it's a matter of questioning what my intent was. Sometimes it's a matter of maybe realizing the extent of my capabilities,
right?
Or realizing that now might have not been the right time,
right?
Or I might have been on the bus a little late on that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we've learned so much, and I try. One of the things I wanted to do when I got out was bring what I learned to the civilian world, and I think that everything I've also done was kind of in a wishy-washy to try to work with that. But then starting with this community and on platforms like this, so we can share that kind of stuff.
Right.
I wanted that legacy. I wanted to leave something behind. The things that we build don't last forever, but people do.
Right.
Right. I always say to guys, I want to make you immortal.
Yeah. And I think with that capability, opportunity, intent, right, in that moment for what that is, right, can you then change directions and go, okay, I'm capable of doing this. I'll get here eventually, but I'm capable. I have the intent to then accomplish this.
Yep.
And I create the opportunity.
Yep.
Right.
You can use it reflective thinking or forward thinking.
And you can go in a different direction and then come back to accomplish the same thing.
Yep.
Right. It's kind of like the control alt delete thing.
Yep.
Right. You add that, you add the capability, the intent, the opportunity, and you adapt those into your life, and you use those on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And you can only grow stronger.
How many subscribers do you have, or how many listeners do you have? There's a decent amount. Last time I checked, it's like growing a lot. Regardless, doesn't matter. If you're listening to this show and you have any form of artistic skills, please submit to Ryan a cartoon chicken nugget dressed up like Gandalf. That's all we're asking. Right now.
Oh, I was thinking like a gold nugget, like a
golden nugget, a golden nugget of wisdom, but it's a chicken nugget.
But yeah,
I don't know. Both are such great options. Man.
I wasn't thinking chicken nugget. I was thinking
a chicky nuggy, dressed up like Gandalf. All right, with the beard,
I was thinking gold nugget, like Gold Rush.
No, I'm a nugget, but the gold nugget makes sense though.
Yeah, that was.
You have intelligent jokes. I have really dumb ones.
Well, no, we just our minds went in different directions.
Yeah, yours went to something of value. Mine went to something I can put in my mouth.
it's that full circle. I eat because I'm sad.
I love how, like I tell Doug all the time, I love how we can go from like Confucius level conversations to 100% DTD like in 2 seconds.
Well, that's the thing, is like you have to have fun in life.
Oh, I had to decompress my brain. I had to vent off that valve for a second.
Yeah,
like, getting deep.
Like,
we'll come back. But
McDonald's.
Yeah. Oh man, some chicken nuggets.
Yeah. Oh, overwhelmed. Got to empty that glass.
I'm overstimulated by nuggets.
Oh man. Hey man, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, brother.
I think we covered a lot, man.
Did we? I kind of blacked out. Well, I mean, I'm glad I get to share with you my deeper thinking side than my normal goofball self.
Well, I think
that I am.
I think when you go back and you watch the episode, then you'll realize what you actually said.
Yeah.
Right.
You just sat there like this the entire time. You didn't even realize it.
Yeah. I had to wake you up.
Yeah. It's breathing too heavy in the microphone again.
All right, guys. If you want to learn how to support Guardians of the Purple Heart, make sure you go check that out. Them out on the socials. Words.
You got some serious dacity today, man.
So much dude. I'm like, it's the coffee, man. I gotta cut back.
Just make the shirt that says dacity.
I'm just gonna put it on there. I'm gonna do it.
I got all the dacities.
I got all the dacities in the world. Go check them out, Guardians of the Purple Heart. If you want to learn how you can support Everlasting Veteran and our future service dog mission, go to everlastingveteran.com. Make sure you go to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment down below, as my daughter would say. Comment down. You got to do one of these things. Comment down below. I learned from her. That's what I have to say.
Hey, click the link in the video right there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually working or not, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah. I'm going to have to put a link over here now.
No, I'll put it on the opposite side. It's more funny.
I'm going to put it on that side now. I appreciate everybody for listening. Thank you, Seth, for coming in studio from Guardians of Purple Heart. And I'm Ryan Landry, your host of the Everlasting Veteran Podcast.